Well, today is a historical day. As we covered before this recording, that we've got our first guest on here. Ripleigh Hayes is obviously our guest today, and he's a passionate basketball player. I know that firsthand because I had the pleasure of coaching him for about 12 months at under 16s level at Rep VJBL Friday night competition. And that was a couple of years ago now. What was that? 2019, was it? Yeah, it was 2019.
Yeah, it was a couple of years, yeah.
Just before the world went crazy, yeah. So that was the last season before everything went to pear-shaped. But look, obviously since then, Rips, really sort of continued to work on his game and improve his game. And since then, you played 18-1s at the moment. You're playing Knox Youth League at the moment, which has just wrapped up its season. You've had a call up and played a couple of games that we'll talk about at NBL1 level, which is obviously a great achievement for you there. And at the moment, like you just told us before, you're obviously on the road playing for the school state team for Victoria against other state teams in Bendigo. So I guess, welcome and thank you for coming, on our podcast tonight, Rip.
Thank you for having me.
Beautiful. Well, look, obviously we've got a lot of success to cover, but let's start at the foundation of your basketball journey. What got you into basketball and, what started the love of it? What started the learning process for you?
Yeah, look, I probably started playing because my mum did, I suppose. And also my family is just quite sporting in general, so it made it quite easy for me to discover basketball. And then, as soon as I started training and playing domestic, I knew that I really liked it. So just kept playing with it, yeah.
What age were you when you started playing?
I was under 8 when I first started playing domestic, I think. Yeah.
Did your parents sort of had to go, hey, Rip, you should start playing some basketball? Or were you sort of already like, sign me up, I want to play sort of thing?
Yeah, no, I was definitely annoying them, a lot to sign me up, to start playing for sure. Yeah.
Beautiful.
But also, I started, first learning from my mum, and I've learned quite a lot like throughout my journey. So it was made it really easy that I didn't have to go anywhere else for advice, like just to get the fundamentals down when I was younger. But yeah, it's been really good to have mum with all her knowledge, as well throughout my career.
So did that gateway you maybe to representative a little bit earlier on, like under 12s, under 14s, or?
Yeah, I started playing rep bottom age under 12s, so pretty early, but not like out of the normal age, I suppose you would start playing rep. But yeah.
Did you find any sort of big transitions from the domestic to the rep sort of level at under 12s? Or I guess at that age, it's probably a bit easier to really just think it's just all basketball, really, isn't it?
Yeah. At the time, I wasn't. I was just sort of a kid running around, having fun, playing sport with my friends. I didn't find the transition to be like overly difficult. The rep is definitely a more serious, structured game than domestic. But still, at the time, I was just, having fun, a young kid, just, running around playing with my mates.
Were you always playing for Knox?
Yes. I'm quite proud of that. I've never changed, so I've always played for Knox.
Oh, beautiful. Doing a Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
Kobe.
So I guess, running around, playing with your mates, eventually you start to figure out, hey, I might be really good at this, or I'm better than the competition. When did that moment sort of click for you?
Yeah, I'd say probably my bottom age under 18 season, I'd say. That was the year that at Knox, our under 18s team trained with the youth league team. So that was the year that I started to really, really quickly improve my game, playing against like much older players, bigger players, like consistently at training, and then, possibly suiting up. I played, I think, a couple games in my bottom 18s season for youth league, which was really beneficial for me as well, just seeing a taste of what the next step is, I suppose, after 18s, that was really helpful.
I guess when you got the call up for NBL1, sort of how did that happen? Walk me through it.
Yeah, so our NBL1 coach was replaced right at the start of the season, and he sort of was had a fresh start with all the players, you know. So I thought it was a real opportunity for me to show him, you know, what I could do, and I think I did that pretty well. He sort of like at training there was two courts. There's the NBL1 court, and then there's the youth league and 18s court. You know, so at the start I was getting called up to play on the NBL1 court and train with them and stuff. So I thought, you know, I might actually get a game here. So, and it was before like all the imports had come in. You know, the NBL season was still playing, so all the NBL players hadn't come down yet. So there was still like there wasn't like heaps of players in the team. You know, so and especially like point guard spots, there was only one point guard who was an import that had come in from the G League in America. So there wasn't like a role, like a backup point guard. So that was the role that I filled, and I got to play the two opening games of the season, which was just awesome. Really, it was so sick.
Exciting! It was really great to see you sort of get that opportunity. Are you sort of, what's your sort of plans? I think you're 11 at the moment. Is that right?
Yeah.
So you're 12 next year, and I guess you're hoping to try and get a bit more youth league and maybe another NBL1 sort of call up next season as well, and sort of see what happens there.
Yeah, definitely. Like even to see from the start of like 18s playing a couple games to this season in youth league, you know, playing majority of the games of the season, you know, like I'm seeing like lots of improvement, you know, so that's been really good.
It's really good. You always got to play the better players to get better at it. That's your game, isn't it? That's the key. I guess a bit of obviously we didn't cover this at the start, but you mentioned your mum earlier, and your mum played college, I think, is that right? US college basketball back in the day. Did she play professionally too? I wasn't too sure.
Yeah, she did. She played here in the WNBL. Yeah, after college.
Nice. Were you old enough to sort of remember that, or go to games or things like that, or not?
Not really. I was sort of born at the time where she was sort of, you know, wrapping up her career, I think, and so I don't really remember much of that. But yeah, it's really good to have someone like that close to me, you know. So that's been really good advantage.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier, obviously, you know, she gave you a lot of coaching, especially when you were younger, get you started and things like that, and obviously plenty of great advice. Is there sort of what's probably the most valuable piece of advice you've probably received in all these years of playing basketball from either your parents or from your coaches or things like
that? Yeah. So I was saying, from my parents, the best advice I reckon I've received is that you have to enjoy it. You know, you have to really love what you're doing, especially when you get to the higher levels and you're playing most days a week. You know, it's busy, it's full on. You know, you got to sacrifice a lot of things to really be successful in it. And if you're not enjoying it, then there's just no point. You may as well just stop. So yeah, you really have to enjoy it. I reckon that's one of the best bits of advice that I've received.
I'm glad that you're mentioning a lot of the things we covered in a series that we did before this interview, so we can plug that almost a little bit of the tips for going professional. But you talked about loving it. Obviously loving it, being excited for the challenges that come ahead. There has to be some preparation that goes into that, especially when you were playing, you know, in the youth league, etc. So what do you do to mentally get yourself ready before a game or before a big opportunity like that?
Yeah, no, preparation is definitely really huge, especially like later in the when you're getting really busy and you're playing heaps and all that. And I like to, you know, do a lot of rolling, a lot of stretching, you know, at least like 10 or 15 minutes before your game. And then even, you know, like after the game, get a cool down, things like that, recovery, all of that stuff is, yeah, definitely super important. And especially like watching players like Adam Gibson and stuff like that, like when I played NBL1, like seeing our true professionals, you know, people who've played for their country, like how they you know, go about their business and prepare and all that was really like insightful and and like education, I guess you could say, just like learning, you know, what they sort of do, and they prepare, you know, exceptionally well.
I guess you mentioned earlier you played the I think the first 2 games of the season in NBL1, and that's obviously, you know, some real big games there, you know, going out in, you know, in front of the crowd and all that sort of stuff, and you know,
Yeah.
all that excitement, I guess, no doubt, you know, being representing Knox for NBL1. I guess walk me through maybe that first game really. What was sort of your mindset walking into that first game, and what was your preparation? You know, what were you doing the first couple of hours just before the game, perhaps?
Yeah. Well, there's like we were told to get there, you know, like a couple of hours early, and we were split into groups of like guards and bigs and all that. And, you know, like an hour or an hour and a half before the game, we'd shoot, we'd like go through the plays, um, and then we'd all come into the locker room, and the coach would give us, you know, the big scout, the big spiel on, you know, what's happening, you know, who's the good players on the other team and stuff. But I remember specifically for me that the coach, he pulled me aside before the game, and, you know, he asked me, he's like, you know, are you nervous? You know, like, how are you feeling? And I was like, yeah, I'm kind of I'm a bit nervous here, you know, I'm a bit scared. But he said, you know, look, I just need you to play your role, and I don't need you to do anything special. Just like, you know, run the offense, you know, do all those things. So that was really good. He made it clear, you know, what I needed to do, and I found it, for the level of nervousness I had, I found it quite easy to like transition into the game and like actually make a bit of an impact, you know.
Oh no, that's good to hear. And I guess, do you yourself any sort of special routines going into a game? Any superstitions or something like that to help you play well?
Yeah, I try and stick to the same sort of routine each week. You know, I try and listen to music, and then I'll get there, you know, quite early. And as I said before, you know, do some rolling, do some stretching, try and get some shots up, you know, to get my touch, get my feel in. And then, you know, try and have a really good warm up, probably like throw down some dunks and stuff just to get myself pumped up, and, you know, like make sure I'm jumping all right and all that. So yeah, I do have it. It's not like I don't have any crazy superstitions like wear like special socks or something like that. I just try and not think about it too much, but then also, you know, think about what I need to do, and until like the time comes where I go step on the court.
We've touched on the mechanical routine, you know, go through warm-ups, do the dunks, and you started to mention thinking about, you know, what you've got to do. That's the underrated part when you're watching players on the court. You know, we all know that you're athletically gifted and that you've got the skills to be there, but what do you think about mentally to stay, you know, focused on the game, or not get too caught up in the moment?
Yeah, definitely throughout the week, you know, trying to think about the opposing team, and, you know, what you're thinking about changes from game to game. You know, like if, say for example, the other team's got a really good guard who's good at coming off screens or something like that, I'll be thinking about, you know, what sort of things that I can do to disrupt, you know, their sort of style of play, and, you know, who I'll be guarding, you know, things like that. And then, you know, also like just personal things, like things that I want to work on, you know, like I'll say this game I want to get 5 more rebounds than I did last game, or, you know, I want to score 6 more points or something like that. So it eats up a lot of time in my brain, I suppose, thinking about, you know, the game and what I'm going to do, and the opposition, and just, you know, thinking about the game, I suppose.
I'm curious to expand on that a little bit more. At what age did you start to really spend all this extra time thinking about the game? Because I must say, like, at a rep level, you know, you mentioned you got there a couple hours early for that NBL1 game. You know, at a rep level, we only get like 20, 30 minutes before a game. Yeah. And, you know, you're trying to cover all your communication with 10 players potentially in 30 minutes. That's like, you know, 3 minutes per player. You're trying to get into warm-ups and all these other things you got to do. There's really not much time to cover a lot of these things. So I know I sometimes talked about the mental aspect of the game, but there's so much more to that. So when did you start to really adopt that mental aspect as well?
Yeah, you're totally right about the rep not having much time. We used to have like 10-minute warm-ups, and then that was pretty much it, you know.
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
But I'd say probably only like really seriously, you know, take the time in the last 2, maybe 3 sort of years. You know, like back in 16s, you know, it wasn't like, it was still very serious, but I still like wasn't thinking about the game, and like there wasn't as many sets that I need to remember and stuff like that. So I'd say in the past couple of years, I've really started to, you know, take game preparation more seriously and think about certain things definitely a lot more in recent years, I'd say.
And I guess that part of the mental process is really think about your game as well. And it's great to hear you're throwing it down, you're dunking at the moment, yeah, coming off, you know, warm ups and getting fired up with those sort of, you know, sort of high energy sort of, you know, plays. I guess what sort of maybe a weakness in your game still that you're sort of aware of, and sort of what are you sort of working on at the moment in your game?
Yeah, you know, there's always things to improve on. I'd say the biggest weakness I have right now is probably to improve like my consistent outside shooting, I'd say. And you know, I'm trying to, obviously you can improve on that by just trying to get up more shots throughout the week, and you know, just like repetition and stuff. But you know, also I'm trying to improve my like scorer's mentality, you know, like, which is more of a mindset sort of thing rather than just a physical, you know, like shooting a million times, you know what I mean? So I just sort of think, you know, I'm thinking in my brain, you know, I want to score a bit this more, you know, I want to score a bit more this game. And that's something that I definitely want to do. I want to score more than I am right now. And I think if I improve that aspect, then my game will become a lot more complete than what it is right now.
I think, you know, talking to you this evening, you know, first time for me, you've got your head on right. You're clearly having a lot of success and the opportunities are opening up for you. I guess then the big question becomes, you know, what's the next step, or what is the ceiling that we're looking for here? You know, are we able to say that Two Guys Will Spare Time were the first people to interview you in a couple of years? Is that the aspiration, or?
Yeah, no, definitely. I want to keep, you know, taking my game to the next level and hopefully play college. That's the end goal right now for me. There's been heaps of steps that I've been trying to, you know, accomplish to achieve that. You know, from even just trying to get my academic side right so I can be eligible for college and stuff. And yeah, definitely, I want to be a professional basketball player when I'm older. So to answer your question, definitely yes.
I guess what in regards to the college US college opportunities there, what are you aware that you need to do now between, I guess, the couple more months left of year 11 and then year 12 next year to really hopefully make that, you know, a reality?
Yeah, there's heaps and heaps of things that need to happen before, you know, you can even be eligible for a scholarship. They count like your classes all the way back from year 9 to year 12. If, for example, you need to have at least 4 years of English, 3 years of maths, and like 4 years of a physical science. Like there's all these specific, you know, qualifications you need to have, you know. So I've been trying to work with my coaches, you know, and get my classes right. And then there's also, you know, the other side of it where, you know, putting like highlight tapes together that you can send out to, you know, coaches, and basically like your basketball resume, I suppose, putting like a package together that you can, you know, you can use your connections to send them out to coaches and, you know, hopefully obtain a scholarship essentially.
Is that something you've already started to do, or is that something you sort of more do next year in year 12?
No, absolutely. I've started to do it. You can never really start too early, I suppose.
Get yourself on the radar, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess here's a curveball. Who would you, if you had your choice of US college systems, who would you pick?
What school would I go to? If I
Yeah,
had any choice.
yeah.
Uh, Duke, 100%.
Duke,
Yeah.
fair. I guess look, that's pretty much, I guess, the key points we wanted to cover with you tonight, Rip. We quite could have gone for a 60-minute interview if you wanted a late night, but we thought we'll ease you into these interview processes. And look, it was really sort of great to hear your insights into the sort of aspects of the game. And obviously as your old coach, it's really great to see you sort of be able to take your game through these next steps. That's always sort of a goal for me as a coach, that hopefully the players that come through my coaching at some time will take their game to whatever level they can take it to, and I guess it's really, really exciting to see yours is continuing to sort of go, leaps and bounds, into great areas.
Thank you. And thanks for having me on the podcast.